Hey everyone, this is a tutorial series I'm going to be starting, and it's for 2D platformers. I'm going to be showing off how to make the character controller, which is what you're seeing right now, moving around on the screen, and I'm also going to be showing off gameplay elements, which are the enemies and these platforms that make you move when you stand on them, and of course there's going to be an art tutorial as well. These are just placeholder for now. I haven't really started that much on the art. This is going to be a multi-part series with a advanced version for the character and a basic version which has a little bit more stability issues than you're seeing right now. I know the platforms are able to push the character into places they shouldn't be, but that can be fixed with a few tweaks of the hitboxes. But anyway, depending on what version you're watching, it's going to be pretty easy or it's going to be intermediate. So which one you're watching, have a nice rest of your day. Hey everyone, so this is the advanced character controller tutorial. If you're looking for something that's a little bit less challenging or has more thorough explanation for what I'm doing on screen, you should be watching the beginner tutorial or the easy tutorial, which I will link in the description below. So to get started, we're just going to have this cube here. I have this placeholder art, and you can see it's pretty flat, and yeah, this is going to be based more on like actual video game ideology, this is going to be based on actual video game like game design, like from Unity and Unreal and stuff like that. So we're going to be doing some more advanced stuff, and we're not going to be using like the actual physics per se. Like, we can use the gravity, but for collisions and stuff we are going to be making that on our own. So to start off with, we are going to plop down a we're going to plop down a controller sensor. And we're also going to plop down another microchip within the character microchip. And we're going to open this up, and we're also going to open the properties, and we're going to call it a collider. Now, the basic idea behind the collider is, since using the other method gets the wacky, really weird, how do you say, since the other controller gets like weird vibrations when it's colliding, we're going to be colliding on our own. So first step is to turn off the collisions, and we're going to not ignore gravity. We can also turn off movable if you prefer, but you can get easy collision from the world, like for example platforms and enemies this way, if you want platforms to move you in that way. Or if you want to be able to jump up through platforms, you can turn off collisions with the world, which would be movable. Okay, so the first step is to turn off the collisions with this, and we're also going to make it movable, and it's going to have gravity. Alright, now from here we are going to place down the trigger zone in our collider, and we're going to set it to detect labels, and you can use any combination of these that you want, but I prefer to do scenery and object, and the ground is usually scenery, and like moving platforms and stuff are objects. Alright, and now we are going to rename this to up, and we are going to change it to a cube collider. And now we are going to resize this to almost exactly the size of our player. And then once you get it to relatively this size, you're going to want to crop it even more so it is just barely jutting out the top of the player. And you can give it some lax room on the bottom as well. If you prefer to have less harsh collisions, then you can have a bigger box. And once we get this to a size we want, we're going to be able to copy it and put it on all of our other sides. Alright, that looks good to me. And we're going to copy it for down, left, and right. Alright, now from here I'm going to make a combiner, and this is basically to bundle the connections. And I'm going to get 2 nodes for if we're colliding with anything, or if this is the output for the collider itself to tell us like which direction we're being collided with. So again, we're going to rotate all of the extra trigger zones to match up with our sides that we labeled them as. Alright, now once you get the trigger zones set up, you're going to want to get a laser scope as well, because I don't know if it's a bug or if it's intended or if it's just the game not updating fast enough, but we need a laser scope as well for down, because it's not going to stop fast enough if we use a non-constant gravity force. And if you're using the gravity that the game provides because it looks better and it's good for physics that are not entirely floaty, then you're going to want to use a raycast as well. The raycast is a laser scope, by the way. And we are going to point this down. We're going to point this down. There it goes. And we are going to set the actual raycast length to just be outside or just at the bottom of our player. And you're going to set the fall off to be, I don't know, I think I had it at 2.5. No, that's way too long. 1.5, I think. Maybe 1. Yeah, 1 looks right. Alright. So this allows our dampening to slow us down over time. So it looks like we are still going at a nice speed to hit the ground, but it's going to be able to update fast enough so we don't go through the ground. And of course, you want to center the center of the raycast to be inside of the player, and you're going to want to change the labels to be just your scenery and object, or just the scenery if you don't want to be able to go... Well, actually, yeah, you want to be able to stand on platforms, so object would make sense, right? Alright. And once you have that all set up, we're pretty much done with the collider. you might want to name your nodes. So, colliding. I wonder if my keyboard's gonna work. Here it goes. And this one's gonna be collider. Alright, and now that we have the collider set up, we are going to set up our jumping. And with our jumping, we are going to get pretty much the same setup as the basic, but we need an additional mover, because we aren't really going to be going up unless you jump, unless you have a platform taking you up. But I'm assuming then you aren't going to have a platform that squishes you upwards, and if you do, you're probably going to be smart enough to figure out how to get that to kill the player. Otherwise, we want to push the player back down instead of, you know, letting them clip through the top of a wall. And that's what this is for, by the way, to demonstrate that. So this mover is going to be pointed upwards. So we're going to get the grid snap, turn it on, point it up, point down the other one, and this will call jump, and the other one we're going to call bonk, for bonking the top of your head, of course. Alright, and now we need to get our input and our collider. And if we press our input, we are going to increase the count, and we are going to reset the count if we are touching the ground. However, since we are using a fading effect or fall off, it's not going to be perfect. So what you want is, you're going to want a calculator, and we're going to make sure it has a strong signal, like 90, 95, in order to actually consider itself grounded. And we're going to go ahead and plug that into the reset. Now, you still may encounter some errors with this, as you may not be able to jump. So what I did is I set it up so if you have it at this, it makes a tick go off. And a tick is basically a NOT gate hooked up to itself, and this basically changes every frame to be on and off. And this would allow you to get a constant reset, because if you provide this with constant power, it's not going to reset. And we're going to go ahead and plug that into a signal manipulator, and you can go ahead and change this however you like. This is basically going to make it so they slow down when they jump up instead of an instant up. So now if we play it, we're going to want to get the gravity working first before we test that. So what I'm going to do is, since this is mainly done other than our bonk, what was this? Oh yeah, this calculator. Kind of hooked this up without realizing what the input was. We actually need to split this, and this we need our down, so up, down. There you go. And then this, we're gonna want it pretty strong, pretty high dampening, but it's gonna be slow, like 0.5 meters. And we want our up, and that's gonna activate that. And now we are going to get our movement microchip out. And we're going to set up our movement. So we're going to want to get the left stick and of course our collider. And with the collider, we're going to split that. And we're going to get the ground set up just quickly here so we can test the jumping. I believe what I did is I had an advanced mover, and I basically set it to 0, no strength, and all dampening, I think. And this dampen Y is what we're going to change. So we are going to multiply that by D, I think, up, down, left, right. Nope, we're going to multiply it by B because that's down. And now, right now, it's going to be a direct input, but what we need to do, in a little bit here, is if you drop from a higher height, you're going to have a higher speed, and you're going to need more time or more power to slow down. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this vary depending on the power you have, but this should work right now. Yep. Cool. And I think might just need, no? Yeah, we need Y. We don't need Z. There we go. Well, Z is nice actually because we don't want to move forward and backward. And from here we can test out the jump. Hook up the jump button, which is going to be cross. Oh, that's a bit weird. Did I set up gravity? Yeah. Oh. Well, let's turn up the strength in that. No dampening. That should look a lot better. Kind of. I think the jump is on for a little bit too long, so let's make it 0.2 seconds. No? Then let's just do... Oh, you know what? I didn't turn it to pulse. It needs to be a pulse, yep. There we go. Turn this up a little bit more. 1.5 seconds. There we go. That looks pretty nice. And we can test out the bonk if we move it over here. And that's not good enough. So let's modify that to 100. There we go. That's pretty good. Alright. So now that the jump's working, let's head over to the movement. And we are going to get a basic mover. And we're going to make sure it's left and right. And we're going to hook up the left and right of our joystick to the left and right of this. I'm going to hook the left and right of the joystick to the speed of this mover. And we're going to set this up pretty high, maybe lower. Depending on how floaty you want it, you can lower the dampening. And let's see how that works. First, I'm going to put the camera down because I haven't done it already. It's going to be pretty basic. I'm not going to set it up as advanced, I guess, as the basic one right now, because we don't need it. Okay. Now, obviously, we can go through the ground, because we haven't set that up yet, but yeah, we're going to want to up the dampening. We don't want it that floaty. Probably up all the way for now. And of course, we want it to be only in the left and right direction. There we go. And again, the ground detection isn't entirely set up properly yet, so we're not getting the exact behavior we want, but we can fix that in a little bit here. Let's get the left and right bumping set up. What we're going to do is we are going to split the left and right of the left stick, and we are going to get two nodes, and we're going to change them into no ports, so they're just pass-throughs. And we want two NOT gates, and this is going to allow us to just turn off the input for a direction if we are being collided in that direction. So that's positive, this is negative, and this is for right, so we do not want to go right when we are hitting right, and then we don't want to go left when we're hitting left. And then we can combine this again into one input. Alright. And now we can't go into walls. We can't go through the top. We can't go through left. And we're stopping with the gravity pretty smoothly. You could probably change that to get a little bit better of what you want. I think what I did to improve it more is I took it and I brought it back up into the body even more. I mean, I guess falling to the ground is slower. The main point of the raycast is so this doesn't happen when you are jumping onto it directly. So you can add more raycasts if you want, if you don't want this to happen. Or you can use fall off of the trigger zone, and that should give you a decent effect. Alright, so what we want to do is we're going to just shorten this a little bit. We're going to make it 0.4, and we don't want any fall off on this, but we are going to lower it back down. And then what we're going to do is in here, I'm going to organize this a little bit better. You're going to go ahead and put this walking logic in here. Right, and then what we need from here is we're going to be messing with the gravity a bit more. And what we want is a varying strength depending on how fast we're going. So we're going to get a selector, and we're going to set it to 3. And from here we are going to get calculator out, and we are going to want a node for a pass-through. And then we're going to hook up output A to the node, and we want signal manipulator as well. And we're going to hook up the node, the signal manipulator, and another signal manipulator into the Y damp of the dampening thing that we have. And we're going to plug in the signal from the collision into all these three. And then B and C go into the second, or the first and second signal manipulators. Right? And what we're going to do with the signal manipulators is we are going to get it set to custom remapper, and we're going to set it to ease out. And for the first one, we're just going to do ease out, and the second one, we're going to set it to ease out, but we are going to increase the remap to about double or so, about 2, a little bit more than that. You can do more if you want. And what we're going to do is we're going to get a movement sensor, and we want the Y velocity, and we're going to plug that into 2 calculators, and we're going to set them to less than, and we're going to set the first calculator to -5 in the B field, or operand B. And the second calculator we're going to set to -9. Alright. And we're going to plug in the result to B and to C. And then we're going to get NOT gate and plug in these calculators into it, and then plug that to A. So now, if we are going pretty slow, we're going to have a weak damp, and then if we're at decent speed, we're going to increase our damp faster, and then we're going to increase it even more if we're at 10. So now we should get a even closer dampening and even closer to the rim right here. And that should be pretty decent. You can adjust it if you want. Again, there's probably more you can do to improve the reliability of it. Obviously right there, it's not going to get any signal because it doesn't have any damp, but of course if it's on the raycast, it's pretty good. Alright, so other than just tweaking the collider and the raycast and the signal manipulators, that's pretty much it for the movement of the character. So, yeah, that's all for this video. I have part 2, which I believe is going to be gameplay, coming out tomorrow, most likely, so keep an eye out for that, and remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye! Have a nice rest of your day.